Hey, you guys look great today.
Welcome back. So
Hi.
we're going to explain some counterintuitive politics.
Ben's going to. I'm going to play video game.
So we were like, so
You said counter...
it is completely counterintuitive, the plebiscite.
Oh, intuitive.
Counterintuitive,
Right.
because like it doesn't make sense, like the side that people are on. So they were like, so we have two parties. We have Labour and Liberal.
They're like the opposite.
They're the opposite of what you think they are. So Labour, it's like the UK system where Labour is the left-leaning
And Liberal
party.
hate black people.
Yeah, and Liberal is the right-leaning.
Sorry, I meant they're conservative. That was the thing.
Yeah, they're conservative.
They hate black people.
Sure.
And gays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Liberal Party was like, if we get in, we will hold a plebiscite for gay marriage. And a plebiscite is just, it's an amendment for a law.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a referendum for a law.
Got it.
It's a vote for a law.
Keep going.
For legislation.
Correct.
Except you don't need to hold a vote from the public to change the referendum, to change legislation.
Correct.
You only need to do that to change the constitution.
The only time that you should use a plebiscite is when you need to change the constitution, but it's it's either against the original constitution or there's legislation that exists that you have to overcome to change the constitution.
Yeah.
So if you had a law that said that people couldn't wear slippers on Fridays, that was in your constitution, and you wanted to change that, you would need to have a plebiscite to let people wear pink slippers on Fridays. But if it's in legislation, so if it's been in a referendum, it's in legislation, but it's not in the constitution, you don't need a plebiscite.
Yeah,
You can just change it.
Yeah, the government can just change it because that's their job.
Yes.
So
Yeah, they make legislation and policy.
So
It's their fucking
the
job.
Lib Party were like, we're gonna hold a plebiscite. We're gonna let Australia vote for gay marriage, and like people were like,
It's gonna cost millions of dollars.
yeah, like at first people were like, cool, like that seems fairly progressive, but then you have the realization that like, wait a minute, Australia's full of arseholes.
Yeah, there's a lot of racist.
Australia
sexist
is
douchebags.
quite horrible. It's the kind of thing where there's a lot of quiet racists and quiet homophobes in Australia.
A lot of people who own youths.
Especially post Brexit, people were like, we could easily lose this vote. Like the plebiscite could be no, and that would be fucked.
Yeah.
So,
And it would just give these people
a
a
voice.
genuine voice.
Yeah, so the Liberal Party was like, not Liberal Party,
Sorry.
the Labour.
The Conservative Party.
No, so the
Sorry,
left-leaning
you mean-
party,
okay.
Labour. Sorry, yeah,
What's the opposite? See, the opposite of conservative is liberal, but that's what
Liberal.
the liberal
Yeah,
party's
so I'm
called.
gonna call them Labour / left-leaning.
We'll just call them Labour, because
I'm gonna call them Labour.
So there's Labour and then there's Conservative.
Yeah, Labour and Conservative. So Labour were like, well, they were opposed to the plebiscite for that reason. They were like, we can just change the law. We can make it legal in government. We don't need to hold a vote and spend all this money. We can just do it. And they got put in this really weird situation where whenever they got asked why you against the whenever they were in interviews about like why you against this vote, like why you against holding a vote to make gay marriage legal, the question would always be like, do you think Australians are good people as a whole? And they have to say yes, because if they say no, they lose everyone. They have to go, yes, we believe all Australians are good people, because that's politics 101.
Yep.
And then the follow-up question would always be, then why are you trying to stop the vote? Why are you trying to, go against democracy? And it's like, so their whole shtick was just, we don't have to, let's do our job, make the let's just make the legislation, because we can do that. So that was basically the two sides, and there's been a whole debacle, especially post-election, because the Conservative Party was like, if we get in, we will hold a plebiscite. That was one of their election promises. And you can't just hold a plebiscite at random. You have to basically, you always have to pass legislation to hold a plebiscite. It's the same process where you have to get enough votes in the lower house, which is the government, and then the upper house, which is the Senate. You basically have to put it through the same processes as a law to get it to go through. Same with a referendum. Yeah. Same with everything.
It's how the system works.
So they were like, so they, a couple days ago, they were like, alright, this is the day where we're gonna vote on whether we have a plebiscite. And it failed.
Yep.
The vote was like 52% no. Because they didn't have, because funny thing happened last election. They were like, oh, we're gonna hold a, what was it called? It's a, What was the election we had recently that was held?
Sorry, what the state government one? What are you talking about?
No, the federal election. What's it? They
Federal
were like,
election.
yeah, that we
What?
had recently.
Did we?
Yes, we had a federal election recently.
When was that?
It was like this year. Basically, the government was like, we're trying to pass this legislation, but if it doesn't pass, we're going to hold an election to try and bolster our numbers.
When was that?
Literally this year.
What was it about?
I forget what the legislation itself was, but they were basically it's like that can happen in Australia where if it's double dissolution. Where,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So if the government is stuck in a situation where they can't get certain legislation through, they can do what's called a double dissolution, where they say, we're going to reform the government, have another election. You can only,
Well, okay.
you can only do it with certain circumstances,
okay.
but basically that's the idea
Yeah.
of it.
Okay. So the premise is that what happens is, it's messy, but basically your backbench isn't unified enough for you to make decisions to get passed through the Senate.
So you're gonna
what
you
do
refresh it.
So what you do
basically.
is you go, well, double dissolution, but typically what happens is you get a new leader of your party to do that.
Yeah.
Generally. So you vote, internally your party votes on who they want.
Yeah,
to
and
lead.
you get a new leader, and you get a new party, and you usually come out with a stronger government, or at least a better government.
Either way, you learn that the leader that's in charge, everyone wants, or you get someone new who's better and
Yeah,
everyone
and the
supports.
party does well. What happened this time is that they kept the same leader, and they went to an election, and they came out worse. They came out with a smaller percentage of the vote, but they still got government. It was insanely close. It went down to like 10 votes or
It's
some
pretty
shit.
close, yeah.
It was insane. So now they're even weaker than when they were before, and they were like, we're gonna hold the plebiscite, so they went to the vote, and it didn't work.
Yep.
Because of the independent parties were like, no, fuck off.
Yep.
So...
Almost word for word, a lot of them were like, no, get fucked.
yeah, this is basically what happened. So, you know, that basically means that it doesn't mean they have to now make it legislation, but now it means, you know, the Labour Party, the left-leaning party, is going to be fucking balls to the wall with, your plebiscite vote failed. You guys said you were pro marriage equality because you were agreeing to do the
To
plebiscite.
do something about it.
So make a legislation.
Yeah.
So that's basically what the plebiscite is.
It's just weird and like,
It's a weird thing. It's like you know, people can complain that U.S. politics is confusing. Australian politics can be just as confusing.
but not.
It's
to the
just
same
more
ex-
entertaining.
But it's also a little more less insane.
Yeah, yes, it makes sense once you boil it down.
Like Australia is relatively conservative.
Political parties also aren't publicly funded, which is good.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a
not like
fascinating.
the US, where fucking like the major
Anyone
parties
can just
are
give
just
them
public.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, we have major things against
We have
donations.
so much legislation.
Even recently, we've had big major issues with
Well, we had a
donations
guy.
coming from overseas and stuff like that.
We had Clive Palmer who had so many business interests that they just couldn't accept donations from like anyone.
Yeah,
That party fell through anyway, but like that's an interesting prospect to be so well connected in the business world as a politician that you just can't accept donations.
well, I think recently
Interesting.
there was news of possibly passing legislation that basically says that if you don't,
come any closer.
that's Siri, right?
Yeah, we've been playing.
Right,
that.
okay,
We've been
cool.
playing this stuff for like the last 10 minutes.
Cool, just catching
It's
up.
a memory. Someone's explaining what happened to us.
Sure. Yeah, like with passed legislation, that means that only individuals can donate.
Yes, not
Is that what happened?
organizations.
Yeah,
I think so.
not organizations.
From memory.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
Looks
Only.
bloated and bloated.
Oh no!
No.
Only registered voters
Yes.
can donate.
Immense
So you have to be a
pain.
You have to be a registered.
But if you're a sole trader, you can still donate on behalf of an organization. So I could
can.
donate on behalf of
Still
DCM.WORKS and have that money
Died
come out
recently.
of the company's pocket
Yeah,
if I wanted to.
but you have to be a voter. It just basically means people from China can't.
His chest is
was
donate
that a
to
problem at
elections.
one point, which is a crazy
There was
problem
a
to have.
guy. There was a guy in. I forget what party who was getting donations from China.
Against the tree.
Not like it mattered because he was like an independent, but you know.
Yeah, it was some
Politics.
dumb independent
Cut his leg
party.
off.
Was it like it wasn't Cory Bernardi? That's
Did
someone else.
No, someone dumb.
Some name.
We might dust off.
horrible.
We'll dust off this cutscene, then we'll bloody call the episode. I reckon.
Yeah, we got
This
30
is a
seconds.
good. Well, we'll just burn through the cutscene.
Naru's missing. I'm pretty sure I've seen this bit.
Dude, how rad is my outfit?
Yeah. Look at your eyes. Damn.
Suggest a fiend.
Look at that scar.
That's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
Dude, he was murdered. Real bad.
He had a fall, eh?
You got murdered so good.
Children get
Yeah.
so smart.
What will we do when the Wolf King finds us?
I'll kill the shit out
We'll
of him.
kill him.
I've no silver, but I can make a blade oil.
True, you have no silver.
Well,
Yeah,
like
well,
it.
my
For
sword isn't
monsters,
silver.
steal for men.
No,
Yep.
a far more special oil.
Ooh.
Doctor
Tell me
Who.
more.
Sexual oil.
The best kind of oil.
I feel terrible.
Get
terrible
Geralt all
pain.
oiled up.
It's Geralt. Okay.
Geralt.
It's Geralt.
We call him Geralt.
I will fight you. Okay, it's Geralt. You son of a bitch. You come at my favorite game, I'll fight you.
Uncle
Uncle
Vesemir.
Vesemir?
That's such a Lord of the Rings name.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it is.
next time on this.
Yeah.